from Mr. Morton's Barmy Book of Bonkers Bits.
Hello, welcome to Mr. Morton's Barmy Book of Bonkers Bits. I am Mr. Morton. Say, have you ever heard the story about the boy who sneezed through time? No? Well, you see, Milo Crumb hated spring. Now, other people went misty-eyed about fresh air and new leaves, and isn't it lovely when everything's alive again? But Milo went misty-eyed for a whole different reason. You see, spring put yellow dust on everything. And spring made his eyes itch. Spring made his nose feel as if someone was tickling it from the inside with a feather dipped in pepper. And this spring was the worst yet. Green everywhere. Green trees, green grass, green snot. Milo was already on his third box of tissues that day. He carried them in both pockets, up his sleeves, and on particularly bad days like this, tucked into his left sock. Now, most people, when they feel a sneeze coming, do the sensible thing, and they let it out. They sneeze into their elbows, say pardon, and get on with life. Some people, however, try to hold a sneeze in. Now, Milo had tried this exactly once. He'd been sitting in the school library, in the quiet corner, next to a boy doing a very difficult jigsaw puzzle. Milo felt the sneeze coming and decided to be polite, and what could follow could only be described as a small explosion happening entirely in his own head. Both his ears went funny, and he made a noise like a foghorn being sat on by an elephant. The jigsaw boy leapt 3 feet off his chair and scattered 500 pieces across 4 tables. The librarian even asked Milo to leave. And the lesson that Milo learnt that day, through considerable cost, was this. Some people can hold in a sneeze, but Milo Crumb was not one of them. When Milo held one in, it did not go away. It got bigger. It got stronger. It got angry. And when it finally came out, it came out like it had been waiting all morning for its big moment. So Milo had a policy. When a sneeze came, he let it out. The problem, however, was Mr. Grindle. Mr. Grindle was the head teacher, and he had one rule above all others. More important than no running, more important than no chewing gum, more important than the mysterious and never explained ban on satsumas. His rule was no noise in the corridors. No talking, no laughing, not even the squeak of a shoe if he thought you'd done it on purpose. And absolutely, under no circumstances whatsoever, no sneezing. Nobody knew why Mr. Grindle hated noise so much. But whatever the reason, he took corridor silence very seriously. He was the sort of man who could appear at the end of a corridor without ever seeming to walk there. One moment empty corridor, the next moment, Grindle. Grey eyebrows, grey cardigan, grey expression. As if someone had built a head teacher entirely out of old dust. On this particular day, Milo stood by the trophy cabinet, trying very hard not to sneeze. He pinched his nose, and his nose objected. The tickle started somewhere deep inside his face and had begun working its way upward. He pressed harder, and that just made it worse. He tried the upper lip trick, and his eyes watered. His whole face scrunched. He just needed to think about something dry and dull. Maths, the car park, the color beige. And then he heard footsteps, sharp and certain. The footsteps of a man who made corridors feel smaller simply by walking down them. Crumb! Milo did not need to look around. Mr. Grindle looked at Milo's streaming eyes, and he looked at Milo's trembling nose, and he looked at Milo's entire sneezing face. Are you quite well, boy? Yes, sir, said Milo, in the voice of someone who was absolutely not quite well. The tickle got bigger. His toes curled inside his shoes, and a tiny squeak escaped from somewhere around his sinuses. Mr. Grindle's eyes narrowed. What was that noise? Another squeak, this time higher, longer, possibly a B-flat. Stop that sound this instant or I will… But it was too late. This was not a sneeze that could be reasoned with. The trophy cabinet rattled, and the corridor lights flickered, and then the corridor vanished completely. At the end of the sneeze, Milo landed hard on both knees and felt the floor underneath. But the floor felt different somehow. Everything felt different. He could hear it first before he could see it. He heard the sound of a Tamagotchi beeping and a squeaky trainer on lino. And then another Tamagotchi beeping back at the first one like they were having an argument. He stood up. The walls were purple and yellow, and the carpet was orange and scratchy. There were posters everywhere, posters that said things like "Reading rocks" and "Math matters" and "Be cool, stay in school." Suddenly, a boy went past him in a shiny shell suit, orange and enormous. And a girl swung a pencil case with a Spice Girl sticker on it and 3 gel pens rattling inside. And then 2 children came around the corner, and Milo went still. He knew that girl's laugh, and he knew those boys' ears. They walked straight past him, talking and grinning, not looking his way. But Milo stared after them. He'd seen those faces in old family photos. He knew those ears because he'd stared over them at the breakfast table. That was his mum and dad, but younger, his age. And they were his age, here at this school, in the 90s. Milo looked around, confused. Nothing was making sense. And then a classroom door swung open, and Mr. Grindle stepped out holding 2 enormous board rubbers. Same eyebrows, same cardigan, only his tie was enormous and covered in shapes that looked as if they might start a fight with each other. And he banged the rubbers together. Great clouds of chalk dust billowed into the corridor. Milo's nose twitched at once. No, not here, not now. He pressed his fingers under his nose, and he stared at the ceiling. He thought about beige, but Mr. Grindle spotted him.
You! Why are you loitering in my corridor?
Sir, I think I might…
You will not make noise in my corridor.
The chalk dust floated closer.
Don't. I mean it. And
the corridor vanished again. This time, Milo landed on something cold and white. But then everything was white. White floor, white walls, white ceiling. Screens glowed everywhere. On the walls, on the ceiling, in strips along the floor. One said, "Homework completion zone, now open." And another said, "A bot has noticed your posture." And another said, "Mess is failure." A little robot trundled past, spraying the skirting boards with a weird spray. And then another rolled past and sprayed the first robot. Milo looked around. There was no children, no voices. Just a smell of disinfectant so strong, Milo thought it must be cleaning up his thoughts.
Unauthorized speaking.
He spun around and spotted Mr. Grindle coming towards him. Same eyebrows, same cardigan. But the rest of him was too neat, too smooth, too polished. One of his eyes flickered. A soft mechanical click from somewhere behind his left ear.
Unauthorized standing. Unauthorized speaking. Unauthorized untidiness.
I'm not untidy. Mr. Grindle's eyes flicked again. Click, click.
You will proceed to the homework completion zone.
Don't want to go to the homework completion zone.
Everybody wants to go to the homework completion zone.
No, they don't.
Click, click, click. No noise, said Mr. Grindle. No noise, no noise, no noise.
And his head gave a tiny jerking rattle.
No noise, no noise, no noise.
Cleaning robot rolled up and sprayed a cold cloud of disinfectant directly into Milo's face. Milo coughed, but his nose had had quite enough of this. Mr. Grindle stepped closer, clicking faster.
No noise, no noise, no…
Achoo! And the corridor vanished again. Milo landed on cold stone this time. Dark. Not night dark, but old dark. Coal-fire dark, with weak lamps and the smell of something boiled for too long. The walls around him were wood, and the windows were tiny. Children hurried past in stiff clothes with their head down. Nobody spoke, but from somewhere distant came the clang of a school bell. Not an electric buzz, but a proper iron bell swung by hand. And at the far end of the corridor came a shout,
You boy, stop at once!
Mr. Grindle came charging around the corner. Same eyebrows, same expression, but this time with a high collar, long coat, and a cane in his hand. Behind him came a boy running flat out, small, quick, and covered head to toe in soot, looking behind him trying to get away from Mr. Grindle, and collided straight into him, covering Milo in a cloud of soot. As he got up and dusted himself off, he said, "Leg it, mate!" And before you know it, he was gone. Mr. Grindle bore down on Milo, as seeing that he was now covered in soot. Milo looked down. His hands were black. His face was black.
What is the meaning of this filth?
Roared Mr. Grindle. Milo's nose, now full of soot, had absolutely made up its mind. And the corridor came back. Beige walls, peeling fire notice, the normal trophy cabinet, and the normal smell of floor polish and lunch. Milo stood there, blinking, breathing. Home. He let out one long, shaky breath, a sigh of relief. And as he did, he blew the soot off his shoulder, and the cloud puffed out of him in every direction. Most of it went sideways. Some of it went upwards. And one very specific little black cloud drifted directly into the face of Mr. Grindle, who'd been standing right beside him the whole time. Mr. Grindle stopped. His nose twitched. Milo stared. He knew that look. Mr. Grindle would not sneeze. He would not make sound in his own corridor, not after all these years. His nostrils flared. His eyes widened and his cheeks puffed. His whole face tightened like a fist. Milo took one quiet step back. He knew what happened when you held a sneeze in. Mr. Grindle's face went pink, then red, then a worrying shade of purple. A vein rose on his forehead, and he made a small, strangled noise. Then another, and another that sounded like a kettle trying very hard not to boil. He turned on his heel and marched away as fast as he could without technically running. Around the corner, out of sight, gone. And from somewhere deep in the school, behind two sets of doors and possibly the staff toilet, came a sound like the end of the world. Every window in the building rattled as Mr. Grindle sneezed. Mr. Grindle did not come to school the next day, or the day after. And on Friday, the deputy head stood in assembly looking deeply uncomfortable. Mr. Grindle has decided to retire, he said, immediately. The following week, the new head teacher arrived. Mrs. Patel. Kind eyes, pink nose. The sort of pink nose that said she knew exactly what hay fever felt like. At her first assembly, she smiled and said, "Sneezing is allowed." Nobody moved. "It's a sneeze. Just use a tissue. Sneeze into your elbow, and then get on with your day." From near the back of the hall, someone sneezed. And Miss Patel smiled. "Bless you," she said. Milo sat in the third row. His nose tickled, and he sneezed into his elbow. And no one cared. And that's the story about the boy who sneezed through time. I hope you liked it. Now, before you go, you look familiar. Tell me, have you pressed follow or subscribe yet? Because if you haven't, I'm going to stand here looking at you with this expression until you do. Take your time. I'll wait. There you go. Lovely. And don't forget, you can also visit MrMortonsBalmyBook.com and tell a friend, which would make me extremely happy and cost you absolutely nothing. Right then, I've been Mr. Morton, and you have been listening. Bye!
Thanks for joining Mr. Morton in his brilliantly balmy bonkers book. Spread the word to your wonderfully wacky friends. Like this episode, leave a comment, and subscribe for more silly stories. Or visit MrMortonsBalmyBook.com. And remember, the world needs more magnificent man.